Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry stalwart on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Suryanarayana Vangara, who stands as a distinguished figure in the banking technology sector, renowned for his expertise in delivering transformative programs for banks worldwide. With a solid foundation in the core banking business, he showcases exceptional leadership skills, effective managing diverse teams with different cultural backgrounds. As a seasoned change leader, he is known for spearheading impactful transformation programs both on the client side and within organizations. At present, he is giving his invaluable service to Think Big Solutions Private Limited and Persyst System Private Limited, companies he has co-founded and continues to service in the capacity of their business and IT consultant. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders. We are thrilled to have you here today. Your expertise and insights will be invaluable to our viewers.
Thank you. Thanks, Sunny, for a very flowery introduction to my profile, and I appreciate your time and thanks for having me.
So, Mr. Surya, you have shown a deep interest and expertise in the banking technology sector. Could you share what initially drew you to this field and how it has influenced your professional journey?
Very nice, and it goes to my roots. So you took me there. So I was a science graduate, second ranker of Kaktiya University, and maths, physics, and electronics, and then joined as an assistant in State Bank of Hyderabad. Worked in agricultural credits, retail banking in urban, and eventually into finance and accounts department of the bank, where I was in charge of the profit and loss of the bank, corporate tax, income tax of the bank, and also the statutory audit coordination for almost 3 years. It is this time I used to interact a lot with computer services department for computerization of profit and loss statements coming from almost 900 branches. And then what we call today as NPAs was used to refer to as protested bills accounts, and that used to be computerized, and that used to hit the profit and loss account very badly because it is NPAs and protested bills. So those computerizations picked my inquisitiveness, and I am talking in the years 91, 92, when P.V. Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh changed our lives, particularly for all Indians. And computerization was picked up by banking in right earnest, and State Bank of Hyderabad was no exception. And that time, there was an all India examination of State Bank of Hyderabad for selecting internally the technology officers, and I topped that exam to become a systems officer in computer planning, policy and planning department. That's how I joined there. And what did I achieve? I was there in that department for close to 8 years before I left the bank. In those 8 years, it was a roller coaster ride from agricultural banking, retail banking, finance and accounts of the bank, etc. Suddenly to computerization was really a steep learning curve for me. And I would mention that I did a 15-month 6-day program of postgraduate diploma in software engineering and IPE to be on the right side of technology. And there I was the university third ranker also. In the organization, I was known as a systems and procedures and policy reviewer because of my aptitude towards processes, as we call in State Bank of Hyderabad, it's called Systems and Procedures Department. And that time, computerization was new, and it was very difficult for anybody to understand how it would be impacting the controls, which are very, very core to the banking industry itself. So I was, because I came from strong banking background, I was in a team of 4 and led what is called as the controls policy of computerization for core banking systems, which was being implemented in the organization. And I led that, and executive committee had to approve the entire change of controls which will be implemented in the organization due to computerization. The government of India mandated close to 40% of business to be computerized, and State Bank of Hyderabad did top 20 branches of the organization implementation of core banking solution, which was ISBS of Tata Consultancy Services. And I implemented 5 branches, 2 in Hyderabad and 3 in Mumbai. And I was a spark for State Bank, Associate Banks group, which were also otherwise implementing the ISBS software in their own organizations for my technical skills, etc. These are 2 major areas. And then in I followed it up with a training to controllers, as we call, because they were all experts in banking and manual controls and reports and reviews and credit analysis, etc. But they were very, very novice in terms of computer controls. So because of my policy writing, then implementation experience, I was pulled into training function called staff college, and 1 year I trained all the controllers in reviewing the control systems at their level for all the branches. Subsequently, I did a certification called Information Systems Audit, that is Certified Information Systems Auditor. I am one, and it is a very, very prestigious, esteemed global certification in information systems audit. So I did that, and eventually I became a quality control manager within the CPPD to review subsequent core banking implementations and also software testing. That's how I moved across within the bank, professionally in my education, upskilled myself for the need of the hour, and sharing knowledge was one of the key aspects of that time with varieties of bank officers.
Mr. Surya, thank you for the excellent start to this interview. Continuing our conversation, we would like to know, over the course of your career, you have led transformative programs in the banking technology sector. So can you highlight one particular, or most probably 2 particular projects that you find most fulfilling or that stands out as a significant milestone?
This is a very question which is very close to my heart. From 2005 to 2010, I went to West Indies, based out of Trinidad and Tobago. I was in Port of Spain for all the 5 years. I was selected for implementing core banking software called T24, which is Taminos, across 12 countries for what is called as Royal Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, which is the regional leader and #1 bank in the country. And it had branches across 12 islands in the entire Caribbean. And all these were in desperate core banking solutions till then. Because of the acquisition mode, the bank has acquired these banks. And it was in 2004-5, they strategically decided they want to implement a single platform for all these banks. And I was taken there as a part of the program management. Now, this was a significant, I would like to tell how I was selected. I went through what was then called as Satyam Computers Limited. They headhunted for computer program management and implementation experts. They struggled for almost 20 candidate interviews, etc. And eventually, when the customer rejected all 20, I was the 21st candidate who had to be interviewed, and they were all nervous, meaning the executives of Satyam Computers BFSI segment were sitting in the conference room listening to the interview as to how it will go, because they thought this is the best bet they could do, they thought. And I had a close to 90-minute discussion and got selected, and there were jubilation in the room. And then the vice president and director of Satyam called me to meet him, because he was exclusively watching who gets selected in this, because they were in escalation mode from the customer. And it was a difficult one. So I met Mr. Prabhu Sinha at that time, and he asked me, so how come you are different from all the 20? I wanted to understand all this. So that was the achievement for myself, or at least positioning myself as a very good implementer. Client really liked it, and eventually I went and I was a very successful implementer there. Now, complexity of this program is, as I said, 12 countries. It had 7 core banking solutions which had to be integrated. It had 9 data centers that have to be collapsed. It had around 60 interfaces with various solutions which had to be interfaced. It was a program within which there are 4 geographical, what is called as jurisdictions and jurisdiction programs, which will have different legal and regulatory requirements. And the data center and disaster recovery center should be common for all these banks, that will be merged into one platform. It was 350 members, almost 250 million US dollars budget, and 20 programs and 4 projects. So the complexity was huge, and it required someone who understands both banking and technology, but more importantly, the nuances of implementation and change management. It was a business transformation program. So change management was one of the most important dimensions of this program, because that organization had varieties of local requirements for each of the organizations. So we had to implement even a change management program called ADCAR. I was looking for one just for the heck of it. I wanted to show this was the memento for me after participating and implementing in what is called as ADCAR model of change management. And then I used to be a member of 7 program level committees, and used to report to the program sponsor through the business head. And this was one of the significant milestones and achievements for me. I implemented what is called as organizations project management maturity model, where the team was 8% mature at the start of the program, and it had to be taken to minimum 60% in 1 year to mature, to implement such a massive program. And we really implemented all those to get there, and eventually implemented one after another, country after country. And I was also a subject matter expert of software testing for this program, because of my past experience in software testing in the previous organizations. I was head of the testing and quality assurance. So here I was a subject matter expert for the organization to implement. And since it is operational implementation with all regulators watching, we had to report our testing activity before go live to respective country regulator and go on implementation. So it was a really stakeholder management was the forte. I myself realized that I was capable of so much of stakeholder management in a massive program that I was implementing, and it was a very successful program. Today, it still continues to run after close to 20 years, almost 20 years. It's 18, 19 years since the first country was implemented. It still runs on the T24. So that was my peak achievement on a single program on a 5-year scale. And people management was my core strength, and it came as a very, very strong trait that I demonstrated. And that's what it was. Technically, it's a challenging one. More importantly, when I say multicultural, there is no better representation of a multicultural in a program than this particular program. We had Americans, Canadians, Europeans, South Americans, Caribbean, many Indians, um, and few Nigerians and Asians, and all come with different mindset, culture, background, but they had to be brought onto a single string called this program, this objective, this vision. So I was the mentioned three designated persons on the charter of the program that should not be changed, changed in the role or should not leave. That was the importance of the role. I was also the head of the PMO of the program, and hence it was a very, very significant role that I performed, and the accomplishments I had and the organization had, and the way it was done are truly marvelous. I still cherish every moment of that. My reporting manager, I named her Joanne Gomes, as the number one manager who really extracted what is the best out of the entire teams under her. I used to report to her and to the group technology director called Krishan Dutt. We used to call him Krish, and to the group CEO. I was known for my independence and objectivity in implementing this particular program. Group internal audit head used to interact with me to know what is not going well with the program, what is going well with the program at any point in time, to prepare their audit plan. And they used to rely on my word, rely on my data, rely on the status reports which we used to publish to them, and they used to constitute their audit work. That I was known for that, and hence the sponsor group CEO used to take me to group executive committee meetings and make me present what exactly the status to the MDs of various banks which are members of this particular organization, and make them understand. So it was a very tough job to make bankers with no program management and project management experience understand the measurement and metrics of a successful program. And I had to bring in what is called as earned value analysis, knowledge and awareness to the MDs to understand what are the top three issues in their country every time. And that was the hallmark of, and all used to sing the same song at the end of it. And it used to be a marvelous revelation even to the group CEO that everybody took it to their heart and learned all the requirements of the metrics and reviewed and critically implemented the controls which were there. And each go live was a massive project, celebration after implementation, and great learnings for next implementation. That was how it used to be. And 12 countries had to be rolled out one after another. It's a technological program, but part of business transformation. So this is my key project that I would call in my career as the North Star for me. It's a standard benchmark for anybody. And I still now teach many things out of that in my information systems audit classes, which I will take you to in any other discussion in another part of the questions. The second organization that I would pull out, it's not a project, but it's my roles. I worked in a company called Maverick Systems. After working in this RBTT core banking transformation, I came with that experience into Maverick Systems as head of global delivery for core banking implementation, testing activities, and project support activities of all their customers in Middle East, Asia Pacific, Europe. US was not our focus, and India was very small segment, close to 10% of our revenues. Close to 50% revenues was Middle East, and 20 was Europe, and Asia Pacific was around 30. So that's the proportion of our revenues. And here, the greatest achievement I had was on the process front, because the organization, individuals were excellent professionals, but there was no organizational process. There was a huge gap between what is supposed to be the process, which is on paper, on only letter, while implementation was really individual based. And therefore, standardization and growth were not, growth was not possible because lack of standardization. So it is requiring process standardization. And you, as you know, experts will not, two experts don't really agree on a same point. It is that always. And all these were strong experts. So I had to bring them top 20 guys in the organization. I pulled and said, you are the owners of this process, and I'm delegating this. I'm getting the authority from the CEO, whom I report to, and we are going to define what process we'll implement in the organization for the clients. And because of the shift of ownership of process definition to the teams, which are the key leaders of the organization, and they did a marvelous work of definition of the policies and processes as we work and implemented that within a period of 6 months. Till today, those are the processes being followed. Validly, very long, a lot of enhancements would be there, but the process definitions were a key achievement in that organization, and we grew like massive. When I joined, the annual revenue used to be 45 crores, and first year it went to 64 crores. But after the process definitions and all were completed, we moved to 108 crores. And in the fourth year, we jumped to 210 crores. So it is a standardization that will take to implementation, and then consequently scale is possible only when such standardization is done. Growth, infinity growth is possible depending upon the service or product you are offering. It's only in our hands how we will scale. So this Maverick was one process. However, one learning which is very important, growth as a professional for me, was what is called as service strategy implementation, when we did a rebranding in 2012 for the organization. And I learned service marketing, service definition from the professors of service marketing from UK, and it was a very, very great learning experience for me to understand how services will be taken up in the industry. Here I want to mention the number one service strategy principle that was accepted world over and taken up very seriously by Maverick was called reliability, which had 85% of survey results world over as number one principle that should be there in a service. And with that reliability, we really grew. The entire organization became unified in this single principle, and then customers could see the reliability of the service of the organization, and they would only mention what do you do for your training. This was the question my clients used to ask me, and tell that, can you do the same training to our teams? These were the questions of recognition, I will call, as customers speaking out of our service strategy without knowing that we are doing something backend. And that's the great learning I had. It was a wonderful experience in Maverick for this too. So here also I came with core banking experience. So on that I was playing with my left hand, but I learned team, implementation, delegation, empowerment, and it is about extensive preparation for implementation, because each bank was actually taking a big risk of implementing core banking solution and relying on us for service provision to take us through. And if we really don't do that correctly, their operations will be in jeopardy. And that makes it trustworthy partner. And that's why our rebranding on reliability, without talking, but actually making it reliable, our work, it was the biggest achievement in that. We implemented close to 40, at least during my tenure, we implemented 40 core banking transformation programs across Middle East, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And I was leading the effort with several key leaders groomed and trained and empowered over a period of time. So that's my second close to my heart organization and my work experience. I moved to account management subsequently, and the same customers whom I worked with delivery were just writing their projects if I fit into the bill. Simple. The selling was very straightforward. There was no reason to sell because I delivered to those organizations, and we walk in once an RFP is there, they know they would give us the projects because of the credibility we built in the market. Till today, there is a magazine called Bankers Middle East, and they have a rule that consecutively 3 consecutive years, if a vendor partner gets number 1, they will not include them in the 4th year as a cooling off period, just to make sure that others also get equal opportunity to the award. In 2012 we got, 2013 we got, 2014 we got. So we thought we will not get for 15 just because though we are good, though we are number 1, the rule of the game is this. They made an exception in 2015. They made an exception in 2016. Till today, I'm talking 2023, till today, Maverick is the banker Middle East banking partner number 1. No rules are applied on this because we never came down from number 1. So I feel very, very grand about that also for the Maverick, and my own contribution in making that happen during my stay and tenure with several teams participating, sales, account management, delivery, solution guys, etc.
Exceptional, Mr. Surya, exceptional. So building on to that, our viewers are eager to know every professional journey comes with its challenges. So could you identify 3 key challenges you have encountered in your career and elaborate on how you navigated through them?
Very, very good question, and very powerful, because these are what should be shared, and knowledge should be with the viewers, participants, etc. Otherwise, it's a lost learning sitting inside me. There is no use. So the first one, I would put it as I will take you to a previous organization where I worked, which is called Tanning Technology Corporation. It's a US-based, Denver-based software development technology firm with Europe and India as subsidiaries. I used to work, Americans call anything outside America as international. I'm sure you would understand.
Yes.
Logically, they call it international outside America. So I used to head the testing, quality assurance, and audit and PMO of Tanning International, which is non-US, anything outside, which is Europe and India in our context. And this organization, International, was a CMM level 3 when I joined. It was just about to get assessed for CMM level 3. I'm not saying CMMI, CMM because of erstwhile era when it was before CMMI came into being, which was an integration of all the models, which is the same almost. So it was when I joined, it was certified 3, and we eventually moved to CMM level 5. We were certified 4, we were prepared for 5 when the takeover happened. So I don't go into that. The point here is, I was asked to go to US to get these processes implemented at CMM level 3 because there is a huge gap between the way international talks and the headquarters and US organization talk or behave as to delivery. We were the key delivery guys. Design and field sales were there in US. architecture was in US, but they wouldn't follow anything called CMM. That was the state of affairs we defined, but unless leaders go and implement, it won't happen. So I was the second person. The process head went there and tried. Then I went there to implement. I have been a very practical translator between technology and business, either way, or business and technology. If a technology guy comes, I explain business and what are the requirements. If a business guy comes, I'll tell how technology will work. So let us understand what we can do. So this is my bridging nature always. This has been the case. I'm an interpreter, enabler. I call these for my role. And that's what was. And US program managers were sitting on massive programs in Canada, US, and they were not implementing any of the processes. Again, scale is the issue. This is way before the RBTT or the Maverick. From 2001 to 2004, all the 3 years I was in this role, meaning as head of testing, QA, audit, and PMO. And for a period of 6 months, I was in US, and the program managers were never ready for implementing the process. So I had to do. They were very powerful. They were having huge budgets and revenue, and so it was very difficult directly to tackle them. And I used to have long conversations with the solution head, vice president of sales, to tell that process will take us to the next level and our revenues will grow. This is what was the interest. The revenue growth is the only topic that will be heard by any serious executive or any director. Today it could be ESG and something more, but erstwhile time, you tell revenue or profit, then only people will listen. Nothing else will happen otherwise. So I had to tie to the revenue goals of these program managers and build a case to tell implementation will take them to the higher revenue. They can achieve their performance targets and also make higher revenue. And to prove it, I had to do sample cases with around support team given to me by vice president of the solutions. And then I had to implement. This was a significant challenge from perspective of dealing with seniors who are senior to me, who are more authoritative to me. They are closer to the top executives, and so they would just in one word trash anything which is not fitting their thinking process. They wouldn't listen. Eventually, I had to, as I said, I'm a very, very strong stakeholder management person. I will tie everything, align everything to the goals of the organization and tie it to the performance and accountability of the individual, however big or high in the organization they are. And that I showed them how it can be done. And they eventually yielded, and they did. And within a period of 6 months, 3 program managers reported close to $1 million incremental change revenue that they missed to even bill the customers, just because they were not even aware how change management process should be used to make. Even if customer delays were there, they were taking the hit. This is how it used to be. So each of these were in 3 months' time. The quality head in US was shocked and surprised to see that all these program managers who were not ready to even look at the process person were talking language of process, language of CMM, language of PMI project management, and metrics, earned value analysis. I was not talking a single word. I was just prompting them, preparing them before the meetings, and they have imbibed it so much. It went into their heart because they know where it hits them. And each of them was so full of gratitude for what I did for them. And eventually I was recognized as a change manager by the vice president solutions when I was leaving the US back home to come back to India, and said, you actually made a difference in this organization's process thinking and how process is implemented. Today we know how it is different when we work with India. And it was very strong emotional farewell for me. But these three program managers were really personally grateful to me for the changes I made. This is a challenge, and that was the way I had to do. This is one area. Similarly, I also broached a subject which I said maturity of project management here in the RBTT. When I said 8%, it is pathetic. 8% will never take you to any project. You are in a $250 million program with 20 project managers. The maturity of the project managers and process of the organization, its organizational maturity is 8%. It won't work. It is doomed failure. And I was in charge of the definition, implementation, and handholding of all these project managers and program managers. Without intimidating them, I had to coach, counsel, and make them learn all this. And the target is 1 year. By then we were because what is 1 year? We didn't halt the program. The other things were happening, like business requirements gathering, creation of the requirements, creation of the configurations by the software, consulting, business process definition. These are all happening. So the program was never halted, but it is about the technology projects that had to be implemented. And that is when we brought in IIL, International Institute of Learning, trainers to teach project management at a very, very high professional level. Then we used another training from them for earned value analysis. And we eventually implemented what is called as enterprise project server, which will integrate all projects and programs onto a single software, which is what is called as Microsoft Project Plan. But if it is a server, anybody who is having a licensed access to the server can see the state of the authorized projects and programs at their level, whatever they want to see. Which means nobody needs to come to you for a discussion. If their data is updated, I have reviewed and cleared whatever has to be cleared, they can check what is the state of affairs and at every level. Which means group CEO could see what he wants to see at an integrated program level. And to come to that level, and at this stage, you will be really 60-70% of maturity. That's how we manage. And when I use the word earned value analysis, there are two important dimensions. Of course, projects are generally having constraints in cost or time or scope. That's all is the triple constraint, as we call as part of theory of constraint. Most of the organizations will end up in one or two or all three problems. And therefore, earned value analysis will take into account cost and schedule, which is time. These are the two most important indices it will create and provide the information, which means index one means it is perfectly being run. Anything less than one is that it is getting schedule or cost wise late, overrun. And if it is above one, it is a head, which means under budget. It is being run within budget, of time or cost. So there are parameters, and this is what I said. I had to train the executives to understand the numbers that they will see and question the management teams which are working on this program. So this maturity bringing was a massive challenge, but I took it really seriously because that's the job I was taken there for. And as a program manager and head of PMO, I was supposed to ensure that these things happen. However, my accountability is to delivering the program. So this is the infrastructure. I am creating the project managers who would actually deliver the program for me, but I am accountable for the delivery of the program in the form of 12 implementations. So this was the major challenge, and I came out very successfully. As I said, that's what I call it as one of the key challenges that I overcame. Then, there was a project while in Maverick with a core transformation. It's an insurance project. We were BFSI specialists and in that industry, and I'm taking some names, but I think I can. State Bank of India General Insurance was being greenfield project, which means it is started in 2010. The insurance company itself was started in 2010. On the day of commencement of business, they wanted to start with all the software implemented, which was practically not possible. So they went live manually, but their records had to come live. So they didn't want any manual records eventually. So the core insurance platform was selected, and State Bank of India General Insurance means they want everything number one. So they want ERP number one, core insurance number one, database number one, meaning number one as in world's best they want, and validly so. However, they had 17 such softwares which are number one. There is no record in history where 17 number ones will come and integrate and get implemented in a business organization to implement properly. And this was never considered. Integration is the biggest strategic failure, if I may say so, in thinking process, not for implementation. They didn't think that integration will be difficult. And we were engaged as the systems integration testing and user acceptance testing and support, help desk and support post implementation. And HP HCL, HP was the systems integration partner, which means they will implement the core and all the technology platforms. And this was a nightmare implementation. And I joined after the contract Maverick has done, and it was already in a mess. Now, the program manager who will report to me eventually came and said, this is a mess, please come and let us solve. And he didn't even know how deep is the mess. But the way I interpret today is he didn't even, but I really understood it is a very, very difficult one. And they started to send legal notices to HP, and they sent 26 legal notices weekly basis were sent to HP, and Maverick was just started with one notice that you guys violated everything, you failed and you didn't implement. This is the state at which I entered the scene. As I took my CEO is the not only business savvy and wise, he is very, very strong in customer support. So he doesn't waver on commercials or any other reason when it comes to supporting the customer in their difficult period. And it happened. And he authorized me to say, go to any extent. SBI General has to be successful. That's the only goal we should have. And it was a very, very powerful empowerment of the global head of delivery. I needed it to go and say something to the CIO and CEO in case I have to do something. We worked, the principles I have adopted were transparency, openly talking, what are the issues. We did horribly underestimate the program, and we had to admit to the executives on the other side that this is an underestimation. If you put it on us, is fine, but there are enormous amount of delays in the SI implementations. Only then we will come as testing partners of systems integration or user acceptance and support. So we are at the receiving end down the chain of development life cycle. It's on you now to actually work with the SI. I had a 4-hour counseling session with the CIO. I counseled the CIO saying, legal path will not solve State Bank of India General's, SBI General's problem. 26 legal notices. Do you understand? HCL boss is Shivanadar. You think he will write a check for damages and leave it. He is rich enough to write a check. What will happen to your software implementation of your organization on which you are running the business? you will be back to zero. You will bring a new partner, but it will again be starting all over. It won't work that way. And I had, and he eventually accepted. I negotiated, mediated between SI and I'm a vendor. Please understand, I'm a partner for them, but I gave a lot of requirements of how it should be done. I worked with their vice president, senior vice presidents to ensure that SBI General gets the order of things in what order I require. And we did all that. And while delayed, it was February 2000, March 2011, they wanted to implement, but they were delayed by almost 6 months. Somewhere in October, they went live, and it was a massive, successful, scaled down version. Scale is business scale, not technologies. Technology had to be implemented because it was purchased with all those stuff and it has to be implemented. But they went instead of, they implemented a scope. It is scope scaling down, not on any other functionality. And then we were backlogged by almost a year of functionality, naturally because of the delays. And we accelerated the catch up by what I call as point solution automations and enormous amount of regression testing automation that we did to catch up. In 1 year, we caught up with all backlog. By end of 2 years of the start of the program, it was running like a automated machine. What started as a 1 year contract and project till 2021, State Bank of India General Insurance continues to be the customer of Maverick Systems, and they continue with their, they trust us than themselves, their own functionaries. If Maverick says this can't be done or can be done, will be done, and that's it. That, all executives, they took even to the joint venture partner called IAG, Australia, and introduced us saying, if at all you should do any integration work of testing, right from system testing through implementation and support, here is our partner, take them. You are 26% owner of ours, and we as a joint venture telling you who should be your trusted partner. Here is our trusted. So this is a record from a legal position to becoming the trusted vendor partner for a number one general. To SBI General is number one even now in India, SBI General, and we were their customers. So this is what. So here, what did I do? It is out and out transparent empowerment to the team, talking to the customer, and reliably delivering what we can deliver. Never promise anything that cannot be done, and we always stuck to it. Under promise, over deliver is the principle of service delivery in Maverick, and we never over promise and under deliver and hit our ourselves bad. We always under promise and over deliver. We find always customers delighted with this approach, and that's how we became more and more reliable in the eyes of the customers.
Okay, so let's move on to our next question. So, Mr. Surya, in addition to your work in the banking technology sector, you have made notable contributions to areas like information systems audit and cybersecurity. What inspires and motivates you to engage in these domains?
Again, a passionate topic you hit, Sunny. I already broached this subject as a State Bank of Hyderabad systems officer. I had a reputation for systems, controls, procedures, etc. And I completed my information systems audit certification called CISA in 1998. I was not having any teachers. I had to do all my study by myself. This I find, I'm a natural teacher and I want to share my knowledge. That's how I do. And so I thought Hyderabad requires a teacher and I will be that. And we came together, few of us who were already CISAs, and started to teach even before the chapter of Hyderabad was formed. And then I was the founder signatory for the formation of the chapter and lead faculty from 1999 till 2005, spending close to 40 weekends voluntarily teaching thousands of professionals. When I say thousands, I'm saying 2,000-3,000 professionals over a period of 7 years. We taught information systems audit, and that's how I continue to share my knowledge. And even today, 18 to 23, I have come back to Hyderabad based in 2018. From 18 till now, I am a faculty of the information systems audit in ISACA Hyderabad chapter. And I used to be education chair of ISACA London chapter. London chapter incidentally happens to be the second largest ISACA chapter in the world. I was there in UK as a consultant for a year. At that time, I became the education chair, running the education programs of chapter. And I used to do the same information systems audit, teaching in Trinidad and Tobago for Port of Spain chapter also, which is the chapter for entire Caribbean. There was no other chapter in the Caribbean at that stage. And that is how I have been, and that is a natural corollary to information systems audit is the triage called confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which will actually be the basis for cyber security. Security is CIA, that is the confidentiality, integrity, availability. Cyber security happens to be the attacks on cyberspace on your organization, and therefore it is an extension of information systems audits in some way. However, the technology nuances are quite deep and strong, powerful areas which we need to understand in cybersecurity. So I did a good amount of learning from National Institute of Standards and Technology in NIST, as we call, of US. Their cybersecurity frameworks, their risk management and internal controls. And I've also been a student of a lot of standards and global technology audit standards of Institute of Internal Auditors for the purpose of audits, but also cybersecurity. And a lot of ICAI technology also has provided a lot of stuff. So I am a continuous learner in this area. While I'm doing my professional job, I continue to keep my interest in information systems audit in the form of teaching. I also taught information systems audit as a subject in ICFI Business School for 4 years, from 1999 to 2004, 2003, and in IPE for 2 semesters during the same period. As a chapter president of Hyderabad of ISACA, I also worked with government of Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile government of Andhra Pradesh, and created information systems audit as a course for MSc Applied Mathematics, and provided train the trainer program to the entire 78 colleges which were implementing that particular course for their teaching. So these were all done on a voluntary basis as a professional outside my job, and hence these all really helped me when I set up my business in 2018. When I say business consultant of Think Big Solutions, I do a lot of information systems audit, cybersecurity audits to asset management companies, brokerage companies, cooperative banks, NBFCs. Even today, that's my major business line. Ever since 2018, I set up these 2 companies, particularly Think Big Solutions Private Limited is on teaching the subject where internal audit departments ask for training for information systems auditors. I teach them. I get audit engagements because of also all these, and I do it on a formal basis. So that's my business as a business consultant. So that's how I have been. And even next week onwards, again, this year batch starts for 10. We do 10 week of weekend full day program for information systems audit from Hyderabad chapter. Hyderabad chapter was reputed all through as a strong trainer of information systems audit because of what I call my significant contribution as a lead faculty. We had a couple of other faculty who are also very strong. Yep.
Amazing. So now that we have discussed your career journey, your professional pursuits, challenges, roles, and responsibilities, let's move on to the subject of corporate governance and ESG. So here is my question to you. As an expert in ESG and corporate governance, what values do you bring to the table?
Wonderful question. First, my introduction to corporate governance, as I said, was from ISACA's involvement right from the beginning, 1998. ITGI, called Information Technology Governance Institute, is a reputed benchmarking organization even today in IT governance. And the COBIT, as they call, Control of Business and Information Technology areas, is a standard even today. And I happen to be from the version 1 of COBIT. Today it is in version 6 of COBIT, and we are implementing that. So governance is not a new subject while it is IT governance, but I also participated in various committees reporting to the board of the bank or the group CEO of the bank in RBTT, and hence I was having a fair amount of understanding of governance, also because of the internal audit interactions in RBTT, directly reporting to the board that they went to. We were and reporting to the regulators, including Fitch, etc. We had to report as a major regional bank going live on a core banking solution, which will disrupt their organization if it is not done right. So governance-wise, I was very conversant. Throughout my career, close to 20 years to 25 years, I was involved while I was never a director on a board at any time. I was reporting as an expert or a specialist. I was training even the chairman of the board for a 1 hour to make him understand what is meant by configuration management, because he's a CPA and a chartered accountant, but he was trying to understand what is this that we are bringing up issues about certain subject, about a major vendor. What is that short? So I had to explain to him where we are facing the challenges, and it is a very wonderful experience. So that's about governance. I see ESG as a very significant paradigm shift that is going to happen in the world. So far, commercially, we feel it is like water and oil as of now. Please understand what I am saying. They don't mix. ESG doesn't mix is how businesses think. It is to be done for compliance, let us do it. That's not the way it will happen. Now that it is mandated world over, including India, it has to change the way business is done. It is not just about reporting and corporate social responsibility checks that are drawn, nor it is about compliance after finding some deficiency. It is environment, social, and governance. In this, governance is already in force for almost, I will say, positively for a decade, because internet boom, financial crisis, all were governance failures of various internet boom and subsequent failure, I mean, and then dot-com burst, subsequent financial crisis, all created a lot of governance failures. We recognize them. Lehman Brothers was a governance failure. All these created strong government structure world over. However, is it sufficient or not can be a question anytime. But there is a path that is being laid out. Whereas environment was given a casual go by, climate change and the consequences of it made mankind sit and notice what exactly is the problem. So one has to be, a thought process has to be like an activist to understand what is ESG all about. If you are a manufacturing company, if you are your data center, for example, has to not emit heat to the norms that are being prescribed. Is that being taken care in the procurement and setup of data centers, disaster sites of service industry also? Is a question. You don't need to be a manufacturing industry to contribute to ESG or otherwise. I mean, disrupt the ESG. So this philosophy of how I will do my business that will not damage environment, create greater good in the social conditions of the whole of the community with which we are working, and even with which whom we are not working, because that is the community that is getting impacted by wrongdoings of large corporations. So this is being mandated now. BRSR is not just about reporting. While it shows business sustainability reporting, it is not exactly reporting. It is about how you make your business sustainable and in alignment with what is nature, in alignment with what are other human beings requiring. So it is no more about profit of your business, but it is about the well-being, prosperity of the whole of not just mankind, of living beings. That's where it is all about ESG, and I am really passionate about it. So as a reviewer, as a contributor to work, if I am in the space of working that area, I will ensure that we don't. Avoid is the simple principle. Avoid damage to environment. If you can't avoid, what do you do to minimize the damage, and what value do you add for the damage that you already caused in compensation? It's not about just doing something as required by regulation alone. It is about how well you perform for the betterment of living beings and mankind, to the planet and climate. Those are the key factors of ESG.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Absolutely, Mr. Surya. Strong corporate governance is the backbone of sustainable growth. All
Absolutely.
right, so let's explore the impact of technology on your industry. So here is my question to you. Given your extensive experience, you must have witnessed significant changes in the industry. So could you highlight some of the most remarkable transformations you have observed? And what do you anticipate with the emergence of technology like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, Web 3.0?
Yeah, a very good one. I feel AI, ML, big data, Web3, blockchain, each of these is in a path of new technologies, while those are only tools in the hands of businesses as to what will happen. However, let me paint a picture. Until web was invented, there was no web, and it was all communication offline, and everything was done. But computers existed even then, and we worked and using computers. So the technology web allowed remote work. That was the biggest change. But internet itself is a paradigm shift in that context. Invention of internet. Second wave, when Web 2 was brought in, it became lot more modular, while it is still central. The modularity allowed for so much of new age companies that modifications could be done. If you take into account the agile technologies that have been developed, is in this wave of Web 2.0. Otherwise, these were required even during Web 1. Web 1 stage, but they were not possible because the internet invention did not allow for agile technologies to be implemented. It was not possible. It required something called, during web technology 1 stage, development and operations were kept away watertight compartments, because that was the way they had to be dealt with. But with new technologies of agile, these are to be in an integrated development environment, IDE as they call, and this was provided by what is now known very much as DevOps. It's a oxymoron if you understand by the people who know Web 1.0. 1.0 development and ops will be always kept separate. Today they are together. It's an oxymoron, but it is made possible by implementation of strong controls within the life cycle of integrated development environment platform that was made possible by Web 2.0. Now, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, blockchain are all the foundations of Web 3.0. They will make another paradigm shift of the way we work. So, Twitter, Facebook, Google, the way they work, use the amount of lot of data that is being produced by all businesses, and they created a lot of wealth for themselves in the form of what is the current business of Twitter or Facebook or Google. Web 3.0 will decentralize all these activities further to the extent that everybody could make. Today, centrally, they are all being controlled. Web 2.0 is still being controlled centrally, and a Twitter or a Google is still centrally controlled. Whereas in due course, Web 3.0 uses blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, big data, and machine learning, and deep learning for that matter. All these will become part of the implementation of local decentralized components of the entire Web 3.0. And that makes it, so what are we up to? Control will be very, very difficult. Already 2.0, cyber security, we are seeing the infinite opportunities provided by, or opportunities exploited by the attackers just with Web 2.0. Now, if it is decentralized with no central control, which means central switch off is not possible, what will happen to the Web 3.0, and therefore how difficult it is to centrally control. There is no central control. So the control requirements will change, and hence the skills of the people who will be ready for Web 3.0 are those who will understand what is meant by local control, how you, it's all like we call in our philosophy, we are Atma. It is the same. You are the microcosm unit of the creator, which means every central point now Web 3.0 should have all the integrated controls which a Web 2.0 stage is having, which means locally everything has to be managed, which will be a tough paradigm shift of businesses, and businesses have to learn, skills have to be centrally, locally available, and organizations should be ready to implement all these advanced skills which only juniors will get. So seniors will have to ensure that governance is in place, integrity and ethics are taken into account at every point in time, environment and social are kept in mind always, but skills are deployed at the junior most level. So this is the strategic view that one should have to ensure that these impacts are governed by organizations in the future. Business will be very, very, very tough, and those who are able to master this will grow 10 times at Twitter, as an example. So that's what it is.
That was really insightful of you, Mr. Surya. So this brings us to the last question of the session, and here it is. We are building FaceTime with leaders, community for cross-pollination of knowledge, and a community of independent directors for having a better corporate governance in the country. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the team of World Development Corporation?
First, I will express my gratitude to Zishan Pathan and Heval. I have not talked to either of them personally, but Heval's ads in YouTube brought me to this. I would simply put it to him. This dream of becoming an independent director of mine is 24 years old. 1998, when I did my CISA and introduced into governance, and I was known for independent testing in the field, in the software industry. The word independent is known to me from then on, and I used to ask many professionals and businessmen and chartered accountants how to become an independent director. I want to be, but it was quite difficult. You need to know who knows you is the only point at that stage in the ages that I was talking. So there was no straight path. I was observing Ministry of Corporate Affairs moves from Companies Law 2013 enactment and subsequent announcements they were making, independent directors, professions, etc., etc. And I was following them. The moment I saw, the first time I saw Havel's advertisement on YouTube, I fell for it. I am done. And I told all your staff that you don't need to sell this to me. Don't sell. I am telling my story. Please listen. This is what I all told everybody whom I introduced. And I one day I will share it with Havel as well as Zishan also. I am very, very amazed, and they were, I would say, right in time, though late for me. I wanted to be an independent director for so many years, but it happened. And the path, the learning, the amount of involvement I am made to do are all amazing. I am studious and I love to learn. And this particular course has made me pull out those strengths of mine to the fore. I completed all these very seriously. And every time I used to thank them for each milestone. For a quiz I pass, I thank Zishan. For a mock test I complete, I used to thank Havel. It was amazing journey. And I feel you are doing a great service, and you are building a very big team, and your vision is exactly what it should be. You are doing it right. And I'm a salesperson for you. Simple. Don't even need to ask that can you sell for us? No need. Everywhere I go, I tell this. And make them understand what I'm doing. I'm writing my WhatsApp messages where all my professional colleagues and all, I'm making this a point that DIWDC is mentioned in all my messages. So if anybody is interested, and many could be interested, I didn't even ask them, but I am telling them my achievements through your organization. So big salute to you guys. You have done a great job, and Sunny, you have done a wonderful job. So for asking me this question and all other questions to pull out what I was supposed to tell.
Amazing, great. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you, Mr. Surya, for joining us today, and I wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Thank you.